Eli Mercer stood at the edge of the wide crystal floor and tried not to let his hands shake. The hall around him was bigger than any place he had ever seen on Earth. The ceiling was so high it seemed to fade into the stars themselves. Soft light flowed through tall, clear pillars that looked like frozen sunlight. The air felt warm and calm, like a gentle breeze on a quiet evening. This was the royal court of the Aurelian Star Kingdom. And Eli, a simple human diplomat from Earth, was about to speak to an alien princess and her people for the very first time. Behind him, a small floating device hummed quietly. It was the Universal Translator, a machine designed to turn human words into the musical, glowing language of the Aurelians. Scientists on Earth had tested it 1,000 times. They said it was perfect. Eli hoped they were right. Rows of Aurelians sat in gentle curves around the hall. They were tall and graceful, their skin glowing in soft shades of blue and gold. Their eyes shimmered like polished glass. Some had long, flowing shapes that looked like hair made of light. Others had smooth crowns that reflected the stars above. At the center stood Princess Sereth. She was even more radiant than the others. Her presence felt like a quiet sunrise. She wore a robe that looked like it was woven from moonlight. Tiny points of light moved across it like slow, drifting stars. Eli took a deep breath. This was his moment. Humanity's first true greeting to another royal civilization. Everything he said would be remembered, recorded, studied. He stepped forward. "My name is Eli Mercer," he said, his voice steady but soft. "I come from the planet Earth carrying greetings from all of humanity." The translator glowed and sang his words into light. The Aurelians leaned forward, watching closely. Eli smiled, feeling a little braver now. "We have traveled far to meet you," he continued. "We admire your beauty, your balance, and the way your people reflect the stars themselves." The translator shimmered. There was a sudden change in the room. A soft ripple moved through the Aurelians. Their glowing eyes widened. Some of them made quiet, surprised sounds like wind through crystal. Eli felt a strange chill. Princess Sereth tilted her head slightly. Her glow shifted from calm gold to a gentle, curious blue. The hall fell completely silent. Eli's heart began to race. Had he said something wrong? The translator hovered quietly, its light steady and innocent. Sereth took one slow step forward. Her voice, when she spoke, sounded like distant chimes. "Human Eli Mercer," the translator turned her words into soft English in his ear. "Do you understand the meaning of what you have just said?" Eli swallowed. I meant no offense," he said quickly. "I only wanted to express respect and admiration." Aurelian elders whispered among themselves, their light flickering in patterns he didn't understand. Sereth studied Eli carefully, not with anger but with something else. Interest. "In our culture," she said slowly, "to speak of one's form in such a personal way is not an insult. It is a sign of deep recognition, a poet's choice, a soul speaker's honor." Eli's face grew warm. "Oh," he said, "I didn't know our words don't always mean the same things." A small wave of soft light passed through the court. Then, to Eli's surprise, Sereth smiled. It wasn't a human smile, but her glow brightened and the air felt lighter. "Then perhaps," she said, "this moment is not a mistake. Perhaps it is an opening." She raised her hand, and the hall changed. The crystal floor beneath them shifted into a path of light that stretched forward like a glowing river. Above it, stars appeared, slow and gentle, even though they were indoors. "This is the sky of first truths," Sereth said. "It is a place where words are shared honestly without fear of rank or rule. No outsider has ever walked it with me." Eli stared at the glowing path. "Are you sure?" he asked. Sereth nodded. "You spoke without knowing our rules. That is honesty in its purest form." The Aurelians parted, creating a wide, respectful space. Eli stepped forward, his boots touching the glowing path. It felt warm, like sunlight on stone. They began to walk together. Above them, the stars slowly moved, forming soft shapes and patterns. Eli noticed that some of them looked like human constellations. Others were completely new. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Eli said. "On Earth, we try to be careful with our words, especially in important places." Sereth looked at him. "Yet your words still escaped care. That is fascinating." She gestured toward the stars above. "Our people speak in careful patterns. Every phrase is measured. Every meaning is agreed upon before it is spoken." "That sounds safe," Eli said. "It is," Sereth replied, "but it is also quiet, too quiet sometimes." They walked past floating gardens where glowing plants drifted in the air like gentle clouds. Soft lights pulsed inside their leaves. You speak with feeling, Sareth said. Your words carry warmth even when they stumble. Eli chuckled nervously. We stumble a lot. Sareth's glow brightened again. Our scholars have studied your broadcasts, she said. Your stories. Your music, your humor. You sing about sadness and hope in the same breath. You laugh even when you fail. That's kind of how we survive, Eli said. Things don't always go right for us, so we keep going anyway. They stopped at the center of the path. Above them, the stars formed a slow, spinning circle. You came here to greet us, Sareth said, but instead you have shown us something else. What's that? Eli asked. She placed a hand over her chest where her light pulsed strongest. You have reminded us what it feels like to speak without armor. Eli didn't know what to say to that. He just stood there under alien stars, feeling smaller and bigger at the same time. A soft sound echoed through the hall. The translator shifted color. An Aurelian attendant floated forward, glowing in sharp patterns of urgency. Princess, the attendant said, a signal has arrived, a long-range communication from the Outer Coalition. Sareth turned. The Coalition? Eli asked. Who are they? A gathering of many starfaring species, she explained. They observe, they judge, they decide which civilizations are worth engaging. Eli frowned. That sounds stressful, Sareth nodded. They rarely speak. When they do, it is because something has caught their attention. The attendant continued. They have heard of the human who spoke to the Aurelian throne as if it were a friend. Eli blinked. That's not exactly what I meant to do. But it is what you did, Sareth said gently. The stars above shifted again, forming a wide, open circle. The Coalition requests a meeting, the attendant said. They wish to see this unscripted species for themselves. Eli felt his heart pound. I was just supposed to say hello, he muttered. Sareth looked at him, her glow steady and warm. Sometimes, she said, hello is the most powerful word in the universe. The path beneath them slowly faded and the hall returned to its calm, glowing beauty. The Aurelians watched Eli differently now, not as a strange visitor, not as a careful diplomat, but as something new. A bridge, Eli took a deep breath and squared his shoulders. Well, he said, trying to smile, I guess I should get ready to say hello again. Sareth's light shimmered softly, like distant laughter among the stars. And somewhere far beyond the hall, across dark space and silent worlds, 100 curious eyes turned toward a small blue planet and the human who had spoken without a script. The first honest words had already begun to travel. The next day in the Aurelian star kingdom began without a sunrise. Instead of a sun climbing the sky, the light simply appeared, soft and golden, flowing through the floating city like a gentle tide. The crystal towers glowed from within, and the air shimmered with quiet energy. Eli Mercer stood on a wide balcony and watched alien birds made of light drift between the buildings. They left soft trails behind them, like slow-moving comets. He still couldn't believe where he was. Behind him, the door to his guest chamber opened without a sound. Princess Sareth stepped out, her glow calm and steady. You did not rest well, she said. Eli turned, surprised. Is it that obvious? Yes, she replied. Your thoughts are loud. He rubbed the back of his neck. I keep thinking about this coalition. I didn't mean to attract attention. I just talked. Sareth walked to the edge of the balcony and looked out over the city. On our world, she said, attention is earned through perfection, through control, through showing no weakness. Eli leaned on the railing beside her. On ours, we usually get attention by messing things up. Her light shifted, soft and curious. That is what makes you different, she said, and perhaps what makes you dangerous. Eli raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? I don't even know how half your doors work. Sareth turned toward him. Not dangerous with force, she said, dangerous with feeling. She lifted her hand, and a small orb of light formed between her fingers. Inside it, images began to move. Eli saw Aurelian classrooms, where young ones sat in perfect lines, listening to teachers who spoke in careful, measured tones. He saw councils where leaders debated in silence, sharing thoughts through patterns of light instead of voices. We teach our people to speak only when they are certain, Sareth said, to hide confusion, to hide doubt. The images shifted. Now Eli saw humans, crowded streets. Children laughing, artists painting on walls, a singer standing on a small stage, voice breaking but still singing. You teach your people to speak even when they are not certain, Sareth continued. To share confusion, to share doubt. The orb faded. Our scholars are fascinated, she said. They wish to meet you. They want to understand why your species is not ashamed of being unfinished. Eli thought about that. We don't really have a choice, he said. We're always becoming something, we never quite get there. Sareth nodded slowly. Come, she said. They are waiting. They traveled through the city on a platform of light that moved like a slow river. Below them, Aurelians went about their lives, pausing to look up at the humans standing beside their princess. Some glowed with curiosity, others with uncertainty. Eli waved awkwardly. One small Aurelian child floated closer, its light flickering wildly. It stared at Eli's face, his hair, his clothes. Is it true, the child asked, that humans make sounds when they are happy and sad at the same time? Eli smiled. Yeah, we call it laughing and crying. Sometimes we do both. The child's glow pulsed in bright patterns. That sounds very confusing, it said. It is, Eli agreed. But it's also kind of nice. The scholars' hall was shaped like a giant open circle. The walls were made of moving light that showed stars, planets, and strange symbols that shifted and changed. A group of Aurelians waited inside. They were older, their glow deeper and more steady. One of them stepped forward. Human Eli Mercer, the scholar said, we wish to ask you questions. Eli nodded. I'll try to answer. The first question came quickly. Why do humans tell stories that end in failure? Eli blinked. We don't always win in our stories. Why not? Another scholar asked. Why not only tell of success? Eli thought for a moment. Because failure is part of being human, he said. If we only told the good parts, we wouldn't recognize ourselves in the story. The scholars exchanged patterns of light. Another stepped forward. Why do humans joke during serious moments? Eli laughed softly. Sometimes things are so serious that if we don't joke, we'd be too scared to keep going. The room grew quiet. Sareth watched from the side, her glow thoughtful. A final scholar asked, Why did you speak without knowing our customs? Eli took a breath. Because I was nervous, he said. Because I wanted to be kind. Because sometimes when you meet someone new, you just hope your words land the right way. The scholars fell silent. One of them finally said, You speak like a being who accepts uncertainty. Eli shrugged. We don't have much choice. After the meeting, Sareth led Eli to a quiet place in the city. A wide platform floated above a sea of glowing clouds. The sky above was deep and endless. The coalition will arrive soon, she said. They will not be like us. Eli sat down on the edge of the platform. Are they worse? Different, Sareth replied. They value power, structure, order above all else. Eli sighed. Sounds like a tough crowd. Sareth looked at him. They will test you, she said. They will look for weakness. Eli stared at his hands. Then they're definitely going to find it, he said. Sareth's glow warmed. Perhaps, she said, but they may also find something else. A soft hum filled the air. In the distance, space itself seemed to fold. A massive shape appeared, dark and sharp against the stars. The coalition's ship was unlike anything Eli had seen. It didn't glow, it didn't shimmer, it simply was a presence. The city grew quiet as the ship moved closer. Eli stood. Well, he said, no pressure, right? Sareth walked beside him as they returned to the great hall. The coalition representatives entered as tall, angular figures. Their forms were solid, their colors dull and dark. Their eyes were narrow points of light. One stepped forward. We observe, it said. We judge, we decide. Eli swallowed. Sareth gestured toward him. This is Eli Mercer of Earth, she said. The one who spoke without a script. The coalition being looked at Eli for a long moment. Speak, it said. Eli felt every eye in the hall on him. He thought about all the things he could say, about Earth's technology, its achievements. Its power, but that wasn't what had brought him here, so he spoke simply. Hi, he said. I'm Eli. I didn't plan any of this. I just wanted to meet someone new. The hall went silent. The coalition beings exchanged glances. You offer nothing of value, one said. No strength. No advantage, no claim. Eli nodded. That's fair. He took a breath. But I can tell you what we offer each other, he continued. We offer stories. We offer help when things go wrong. We offer a hand when someone's alone. We don't always get it right, but we keep trying. Sareth's glow brightened. The coalition leader studied Eli carefully. You are inefficient, it said. Eli smiled slightly. Yeah, we really are. There was a long pause. Then slowly one of the coalition beings tilted its head. Your inefficiency creates bonds, it said. This is unusual. The meeting ended without a clear answer. The coalition left as quietly as it had come. Eli slumped into a seat. Well, he said, I think I just failed a galaxy-wide job interview. Sareth stood beside him. You did not fail, she said. You showed them something they did not expect. What's that? Eli asked. She looked up at the stars. That connection can be stronger than control. Later that night, Eli sat alone, watching the sky. He thought about Earth, about crowded cities and quiet fields, about people who laughed too loud and argued too much and cared too deeply. He didn't know what the coalition would decide, but he knew something had changed. Somewhere out there, beyond Aurelian light and human noise, a different kind of idea was beginning to move through the stars. The idea that being imperfect might not be a weakness. It might be a bridge. The coalition did not leave quietly. Their ship stayed in the sky above the Aurelian city like a dark star that refused to fade. Its shape blocked part of the glowing clouds, casting long shadows over the crystal towers. Eli Mercer felt those shadows even when he could not see them. He stood in a wide, open garden where soft blue grass waved like water. Aurelian citizens moved around him, slower than usual, their glow dimmer, their patterns uncertain. Princess Sereth stood beside him, watching the sky. "They are still thinking," she said. Eli sighed. "I wish they'd think a little faster." Sereth turned to him. "They have not been challenged like this before." "By me?" Eli asked, surprised. "I didn't exactly bring a grand speech or anything." "You brought something harder to measure," she said. "You brought feeling." A soft tone echoed through the city. The air shifted, like a deep breath being taken by the world itself. "The coalition requests another meeting," an attendant's voice carried through the light. Eli closed his eyes for a moment. "Round 2, he said quietly. The great hall filled once more. Aurelians gathered in careful rows. The coalition beings stood in a sharp, dark line at the center. Their leader stepped forward. "We have observed your people's signals," it said. "Your art, your stories, your conflicts, your compassion." Eli blinked. "You've been watching Earth." "We watch all," the being replied. Sereth's glow dimmed slightly. The leader continued. "Your species is unstable, emotional, inconsistent." Eli nodded. "That's pretty accurate. Such traits lead to chaos," the being said. "Chaos leads to destruction." Eli took a slow breath. "Sometimes," he said, "but sometimes it leads to something else." The coalition being tilted its head. "Explain." Eli stepped forward, hands open. "Back on Earth," he said, "we're different from each other. We argue. We mess up. We don't always agree on what's right. But when something really bad happens, when someone needs help, people still show up." The hall was quiet. "They bring food, they bring tools, they bring comfort, not because it's efficient, not because they're told to, but because it feels wrong not to." Sereth watched him closely. The coalition leader remained still. "You rely on instinct," it said. "Yes," Eli replied, "and choice." The being was silent for a long moment. "Choice creates unpredictability," it said. Eli smiled softly. "Yeah. But it also creates hope." A murmur of light passed through the Aurelians. The coalition leader turned slightly, speaking to its companions in a low, sharp tone. Then it faced Eli again. "We will test your claim," it said. Eli's heart skipped. "Test how?" The leader raised a hand. A shape appeared in the air made of pale light. It showed a distant world. The land was cracked and dry. The sky was dark with heavy clouds. "This world suffers," the being said. "Its people are divided. Their resources are low. Their future is uncertain." Eli watched the image. "We have offered them structure," the leader continued. "They refused. They prefer their freedom." Sereth frowned slightly. The coalition being looked at Eli. "If your species values connection," it said, "then show it." "Not with words, with action." Eli swallowed. "You want us to help them," he said. "We want to see if you will try," the being replied. The image faded, the hall filled with quiet tension. Sereth stepped forward. "The Aurelians will assist as well," she said. The coalition leader paused. "This test is for humans," it said. Eli thought for a moment, then he nodded. "Okay," he said. "We'll try." The journey began soon after. A small human ship, guided by Aurelian light paths, traveled through space toward the troubled world. Eli sat at a simple control station, surrounded by soft, glowing panels. Sereth stood nearby, watching the stars stretch into long lines as they moved faster than light. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Eli considered the question. "Yeah," he said, "but I think that means I care." The troubled world came into view. It was beautiful in a quiet way. Wide oceans reflected dim light. Mountains cut dark shapes against the sky. But when they landed, Eli saw the problems. The people were tired. Their buildings were worn. Their eyes carried worry. A small group approached, cautious but curious. Eli stepped forward slowly, hands open. "I'm Eli," he said. "We came to see if we could help." The leader of the group, a tall being with soft green skin, studied him. Help how? It asked. Eli hesitated. I don't know yet, he admitted, but maybe we can figure it out together. The being blinked, surprised. You do not have a plan? It asked. Eli smiled. Not a perfect one. The days that followed were simple and hard. Eli and the human team worked alongside the locals. They repaired broken machines, shared food, listened to stories. Sereth and the Aurelians helped restore the land, guiding water back into dry fields using gentle energy patterns. Eli spent hours just talking with the people. One night, sitting by a small fire, a young local asked him, "Why are you here?" Eli looked at the flames. "Because someone once helped us when we needed it," he said, "and we never forgot how that felt." Above them, the coalition ship watched silently from the sky. Days turned into weeks. The world slowly changed. Fields grew green again, people laughed more. Children played in open spaces that had once been empty. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. One morning, the coalition leader appeared in the village. It watched as locals and humans worked side by side, passing tools, sharing water, telling stories. "This is inefficient," it said. Eli nodded. "I know." "But they are united," the being said slowly. Sereth stepped forward. "They chose to help each other," she said. "Not because they had to, because they wanted to." The coalition leader was silent. Finally, it turned to Eli. "You did not impose order," it said. "You offered presence." Eli shrugged. "We just showed up." The being looked back at the village. "This approach will spread unpredictably," it said. Eli smiled. "Yeah, that's kind of the point." The coalition ship left that world without another word. Back in the Aurelian city, the sky felt lighter when it was gone. The great hall filled once more. The coalition leader addressed the room. "We have observed your method," it said. "It does not create control, it creates bonds." The Aurelians glowed brighter. "This is valuable," the being admitted. Eli let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The leader continued. "Humanity will be recognized," it said. "Not as a power, not as a threat, but as a connector." Sereth's light shimmered warmly. Later, Eli stood on a balcony watching the stars. Sereth joined him. "You did something rare," she said. "You changed how they see the universe." Eli laughed softly. "I just talked to people and fixed a few broken things." Sereth shook her head. "No," she said. "You reminded them that the universe is not made only of systems and stars." She gestured to his chest. "It is also made of hearts." Eli looked out into the endless dark. Somewhere out there, worlds waited. Not for rules, not for commands, but for someone to simply arrive and say, "I'm here, let's try together." And for the first time, Eli felt like humanity's place among the stars wasn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It was about being the ones who stayed. Years passed, but the stars still remembered the name Eli Mercer. In the Aurelian Star Kingdom, the City of Light had grown larger and brighter. New towers floated in the air, connected by wide paths of glowing crystal. Ships from many worlds now arrived every day, their shapes and colors filling the sky like a moving painting. Eli stood on a high bridge and watched them come in. He was older now. Lines had formed near his eyes. His hair carried a few strands of silver, but his smile was still the same. Beside him stood Queen Sereth. She no longer wore the simple robes of a princess. Her clothing shimmered with deeper light, woven with symbols from many worlds. Her glow was stronger, warmer, and carried the quiet weight of leadership. "The city has changed," Eli said. "Yes," Sereth replied. "So has the galaxy." Below them, a group of humans walked beside Aurelians. A tall being with feather-like arms spoke with a small, round creature that rolled instead of walked. Laughter drifted through the air, soft and real. "This used to be impossible," Sereth said. "Our people once believed connection would weaken us." Eli leaned on the railing. "And now we know it strengthens us," she said. The title Eli carried was simple. He was called a cultural ambassador, but to many worlds he was known as something else, the first bridge. He spent his days meeting travelers, listening to stories, and helping worlds understand each other. He never gave orders. He never made rules. He just talked. One afternoon, a young Aurelian approached him. Its glow flickered nervously. "Eli Mercer," it said, "I will be traveling to Earth." Eli smiled. "That's a big trip." "I am afraid," the young one admitted. "Humans are loud, emotional, unpredictable." Eli chuckled. "That's true." The Aurelian tilted its head. "What if I say the wrong thing?" Eli thought about his first day in the Great Hall, about the words that had changed everything. "Then you'll be doing it right," he said. The young one blinked. "How can being wrong be right?" Because it means you're trying, Eli replied, and most people can feel that. The Aurelians' glow softened. Far away on a distant world, the coalition observed. They no longer hovered in silence. They had changed too. Their ships now carried spaces for visitors. Their councils allowed open voices, not just structured light patterns. They still valued order, but they had learned something new. They had learned to listen. One of their leaders watched a recording of Eli speaking to a group of frightened settlers on a stormy planet. "You don't have to be brave," Eli said in the image. "You just have to show up." The leader turned away from the screen, thoughtful. "Humanity creates movement without force," it said quietly. Back in the Aurelian city, preparations were being made for a special moment. A monument was being built in the center of the sky of first truths. Eli stood with Sereth as workers of many species placed the final piece. The monument was simple. Two figures stood beneath a carved sky of stars. One was human, the other was Aurelian. They weren't shaking hands. They weren't standing in power. They were standing awkwardly, slightly turned toward each other, like two beings who didn't quite know what to say next. At the base of the monument, words were carved in many languages. The first honest words. Eli stared at it for a long time. "I didn't think I'd end up as a statue," he said. Sereth's glow rippled with something like laughter. "It is not for you alone," she said. "It is for what you started." That evening, beings from across the galaxy gathered beneath the glowing sky. Lights floated like gentle stars around the monument. Music from different worlds mixed in the air, strange and beautiful. Eli stood to one side, watching. A human child tugged at his sleeve. "Are you the one in the statue?" the child asked. Eli knelt down. "Kind of." The child frowned. "You don't look like a hero." Eli smiled. "Good." "Why good?" the child asked. "Because heroes make people feel small," Eli said. "I just want people to feel welcome." The child thought about that, then nodded and ran off to join a group of Aurelian children playing with floating lights. Sereth stepped beside Eli. "You could have returned to Earth long ago," she said. "Why did you stay?" Eli looked up at the stars. "At first," he said, "I stayed because I thought I had to, like it was my job." "And now?" she asked. "Now I stay because this feels like home too." Sereth's glow softened. "Earth is still watching you," she said. "They tell stories about you." Eli laughed. "I hope they make me sound cooler than I am." "They do not," Sereth replied gently. "They make you sound human." Across the crowd, a group of beings from the troubled world Eli had helped long ago approached. Their leader bowed slightly. "Our fields still grow," it said. "Our people still remember." Eli felt his chest tighten. "I'm glad," he said. The leader gestured to the sky. "We now help others," it said, "because someone once helped us." Eli closed his eyes for a moment. This was how it spread, not through power, not through command, but through memory. Later, as the gathering slowly faded, Eli walked alone beneath the glowing stars. The city was quiet. He thought about his first steps on the crystal floor, about the nervous diplomat who had only wanted to say hello. He had never planned to change anything. He had only planned to speak. Sereth joined him one last time that night. "The galaxy is different now," she said. Eli nodded. "So are we." "What will humans be known as?" she asked. Eli considered the question. "Not the strongest," he said. "Not the smartest." "Then what?" Sereth asked. Eli smiled softly. "The ones who show up." Above them, the stars slowly shifted, forming patterns that looked like paths stretching into the unknown. Somewhere far away, a new world prepared to send its first message into space. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't a warning. It was a simple signal inspired by a story that had traveled across the stars. A greeting, a hope, a promise. And across the galaxy, from glowing cities to silent ships, from crowded planets to lonely worlds, beings paused to listen, because now they knew. Sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe isn't a weapon or a throne or a perfect plan. Sometimes it's just a voice that says, "I'm here," and means it.